and probably, I don't know if you're there in Australia, so it probably, if you live there, of course, it feels like it's, a hot topic, but that's the number one thing that everyone's like, at least we're not Australia. Like, and I'm from Canada, which is probably up there as bad. But the videos I've seen of Australia, the guy running away from COVID and he's in an elevator and they're like, they're making videos like he's a serial murderer. It's just a guy. It is crazy over there.
Yeah, well, that's funny because that is exactly what we thought at the start of this. Everyone in Australia was like, well, at least we're not America. And now we look at America and go, fuck, I wish we were there.
It's crazy. Yeah, I remember when this COVID first started, my buddy, his name's Evan Demaray, and he's like a comedian, and he went to COVID and they put him in the hotels, and someone escaped the hotel and the cops were after him, and it was a huge news story. He was on the news, and then they brought the girl back. She escaped the COVID prison to go party or something, right? And then they brought her back and they locked her door and they had a guard outside of her door to make sure she couldn't leave her room in the COVID prison. That's so funny.
I have a mate who works at one of the COVID hotels, which is like when you come back from any state that has COVID, you have to do 2 weeks hotel quarantine, depending on where you've come from. And I got a mate who works there and I was like, what's your job? And he goes, I kind of just like sit in the hallway. And I go, so what? If someone escapes, like, what would you do? He's like, fucking nothing. He's like, I don't want to go anywhere near them. They might have COVID. So he just sits there.
Dive on them?
And then he's like, my job's, I guess, to just call security. But I'm like, what are they going to do? He's like, probably not.
But isn't he security? Isn't that why he's in the hallway?
I don't know. He's just paid to sit in the hallway, man. He's
paid to pretend to be security. So people look at him and go, oh, fuck, I shouldn't run. He's security. And he's like, stupid people.
Well, it's true. It's like if I was just a normal guy sitting in that hotel like lobby, if someone ran out, I'd be like, oh.
You're not diving for anyone.
Yeah, I got cooties, bro.
Well, I want to know, Ryan. Like, I've been seeing some of these like American news reports and that, and I just want to know like what you think is happening. because
in Australia,
some of it they're nailing, a lot of it they're getting really wrong, and I think a lot of it is designed to scare you guys about what the future of America could be, right?
Oh, you think that? Oh, I see what you're saying. You think New York is kind of like, look at what it is if it starts to be too totalitarian sort of situation.
I think I'm seeing a lot of the right-wing news organizations going, this is what happens when you don't have guns, and this is what happens if you don't vote Trump in 2024, you know? Well,
so I guess that's the question. I'm like, are they right or not? Because I went back, like Canada is, not as, it sounds like not as bad, but they are pretty crazy about that stuff. Like even when I went, I couldn't go back home basically. And then now you have to basically get vaccinated. Then you get a test before you get to the airport. Then when you get to the airport, they test you again. And then you're supposed to quarantine. So it's like, well, why am I quarantining if you just tested me and I'm vaccinated? Like there's all this stuff that doesn't make sense. And it is, you go there and it's like, it kind of is one of those things sometimes where just maybe it is like so politicized that maybe people that you'd be like, oh, it's only these people saying it. But it's like, I don't know. I guess, is it crazy or is it not? I mean, you're the one living there. I don't know.
Well, it's crazy, but I think
people here don't think. Some people think it's crazy. I would say that
some people are stoked about it.
I would say a large majority of people could understand that it's probably the right thing to do because we're at like a 26% vaccination rate in our country.
That's what the news is missing. That's what I think that's the news is
our country,
skipping over.
Government is incompetent.
Yeah, they didn't. We're on an island, so the government was like, "Oh, cool, we're sweet. We don't have to do anything," and they didn't get ready for it. While the whole world was getting wrecked by it, the government didn't get vaccines, and I think that's what the news is missing. Is like, yeah, we have all of these lockdowns and shit like that, and you see like Americans and English people going, oh, why are they still doing lockdowns? Like, just get vaccinated and live your life. Or if you're not going to get vaccinated, it's your risk. I think the reason we have to do lockdowns is because you can't take that risk of going out. You know, you can't make the choice to not get vaccinated and then take the risk because there are none to make the choice.
People
if you
our age,
why can't you? Why isn't there any?
So
in
people
America,
our age only got the option to get Pfizer 2 weeks ago.
Why?
They became eligible.
They didn't buy them.
Our government does not have enough
question,
vaccines.
Ryan. Why?
That's literally what everyone has been saying. So everyone's just like, our government is incompetent because they haven't, like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Is there's not enough vaccines for everyone in that country.
Because
Like,
I hear,
it's big news when we get another million vaccines bought in. Everyone's like, oh, might get a chance at one.
yeah, I was here, a year ago.
Yes.
I guess, but then they have all these extra things here now. They're like, oh, everyone has to get a booster and go get a second shot. Dude, this is how much the vaccines are available here. If you go to like a Yankees game, they'll go, you can get in free if you take a vaccine. So they just have like, yeah, literally.
Well, you can get one at the hot dog stand.
And they give you $100.
Man.
And there's lotteries because and it's it's still a pretty probably 80% of people in New York, but they want to get higher. But I guess the crazy part that you can tell me whether it's true or not. It seems like this in New Zealand they keep saying, there was like 10 more cases, so you can't, the curfew of leaving your cities back on, and you're just like, that's like it's nothing. I feel
like what happened was with New South Wales, so Sydney, they left it, right? I was there and they had like 6 cases a day, and I was like, oh, fuck this is gonna get really bad, I'm gonna get out. And then now they have over 1,000 cases every day, which is a lot because they just like didn't do anything about it and let it get out of hand. Whereas Perth, they have like 2 cases, then they go into like a 3-day lockdown, and then they have 0 cases for months.
And I think they have to do that because there is no vaccine.
Don't have COVID there. So there are places of Australia where there is no COVID, which is probably the only one of the places in the world where there's 0 cases.
And they are saying, like, also once we hit 80% vaccinated, they're going to stop lockdowns, which I think is the right thing to do. I just think the reason why that's
what they said in Canada, and then they were like, oh, just joking, 90%.
Well, we're doing the opposite. They said 80, and then they're like, oh, actually, that seems a bit hard. Let's go with 70.
Right. Yeah.
So we're doing the opposite. We're like, fuck, 70 is good enough. It'll probably be like, if 2 people get vaccinated on Sunday, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I always think that people mess up too. Just everyone that's talking about this, they always just talk about every country and culture like they're the same.
Yeah.
But it's like in Canada, it's like like you said earlier, where if it's popular, the people want, like, it's easy to, in America, they don't like that stuff. Like Texas people don't like to be told what to do. Like that whole freedom stuff's like so important for them. In Canada, they're not really like that. So this is like, here it's pretty 50-50 on like the vaccines and all that stuff. Like in Canada, it's not really 50-50. Like most people are pretty pro, the lockdowns, the vax passport, all that sort of stuff.
I feel like that's the same with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends on what
people
the culture's like.
Like understand, like, oh, it's probably the right thing to do. And there's people who obviously protest and stuff, but it's a very small minority, really.
Yeah. And I think here it's not, right? That's the difference. Like, those places, it's literally 50-50. It's half the states are pretty, full. The media is, going to do what they're going to do, but there'll be, even with like Miami, everyone will be like, I went there, and when COVID got really bad, I went to Miami because it was the most open. And when like New York was like really locked down, I did the opposite.
Yeah.
But I was just, I don't know. I wasn't like specifically scared of COVID, and I was like, I couldn't do stand up, but everything was locked down, and I was just like, we went there for like 3 months, and all of the media would be saying that it's so bad there, but it's kind of, if you look at it, like the places that locked down and the places that didn't, there isn't that big of a correlation for like what has more deaths and all that stuff, I don't think. But I don't know. I'm sure anyone can rejig the numbers to make them look however they want.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like anything fucking looks true unless you're actually like an expert. Like I do this all the time where I look at like, I wonder what climate change deniers think, and I read it and I go, well, fuck, that sounds true. That sounds just as true as all the other shit that I've read.
Well, here's my statistics. And you go, here's my statistics.
Yeah.
I'll get sucked in by like the one side of each story. Like I remember in like grade 6, I watched this documentary about how the moon landing was fake, and then immediately after I watched a documentary about how it was real.
Yeah.
And I came out of both documentaries like, oh my God, it's fake. And then I was like, nah, it's definitely real.
Yeah.
And I was like, I still don't know. I always think about that. I'm like, I don't know, man. Those are some fucking good points.
Well, I think it comes down to the music they choose, like whoever has the best score to the documentary, that's who I'm going to believe. Like make me feel something with the music and I'll believe whatever you want. That's how I got into QAnon.
Nice. Yeah, whoever the protagonist is. I mean, how many people that were, protesting the cops, like, watched like a movie where the cop was like the cop was the bad guy cop was the protagonist, and they're sort of like rooting for him, probably not even realizing that, you know, you can have your brain like hacked so easily.
You can. And even, you know, like you film the same thing from a different angle and it looks completely different of like, oh, this guy's a bad guy. No, that guy's a bad guy. It depends on what angle, you know?